Dear animator or animator wannabe, welcome to my video tutorial. My name is Marty and in this video we will be doing a speed walkthrough of animating a 3/4 run in perspective. The video is quite long and I will not talk through most of it, but I will be commenting on actions that are taking places and on overall general process. The video is divided into 4 stages: rough sketches, posing, animation and summary. If you're not here for the long format and shadowing my work, then you can skip to the last part, which is the summary of the steps, and it's at a 37th minute mark. The video is sped up for a better flow, but if you want to catch all the details, you can play it at a lower speed. Let's begin. We're starting in the scene with my character called Maeve, and that's her full turnaround. She has a pretty comprehensive turnaround, but what we're going to do is copy the turnaround and post it further down the timeline, just so we don't have to deal with all of those keyframes in here. And what we're gonna do is choose the 3/4 view and delete the rest, because we're going to run. The first stage is rough sketches. We're going to start by creating a new drawing and figuring out the poses that we want to follow as our main run poses. So I'm going to go with 2 passing poses. I'm sketching on top of the character because I want to get her proportions and her model right. Mind you, those sketches are not supposed to be identical to the model, they're only supposed to act as a guide. A lot of the time animators fall into the trap of being limited by the rig and not really thinking about how we can push the character to look better or to feel kind of more like it's hand-drawn, but what's the better way of doing this than actually drawing by hand? So this step kind of helps to eliminate the stiffness of the rig and the limitation of the visual side of it and the technical side of it, and you will see in a second. So now that we have our sketches, we're going to go into key posing. What I will do now is make sure that the visibility of the sketch is transparent. So I'm going to try to bring the character or bring the rig as close to those drawings as it's possible. And you might notice that I'm mostly trying to do the movements with the transform tool and only really using performers to push the elements later on. This way ensures that the model stays intact and animating, pose to pose later on becomes a little bit more efficient. For a lot of foreshortening, majority of the time, I will try to do most of rescaling with the transform tool and only change things with the deformers when it comes to their perspective or their line of, or their angle, rather than shortening things with the deformers, because that can cause problems with anchor points later on. So for the start of posing, what I will try to do is get the rig as close to the drawing as it's possible. So you probably noticed that the sketch has a foot that is visible from the level of sole, but we don't really have that in the rig. So I'm not worried about that yet because I'm trying to not get caught in the detail. So I'm trying to find the foot that matches it as close as it can within the rig, and when I have time, and if I have time, I will come back to it later and apply more detail or apply a new drawing to it at a later stage. So right now I've switched off the sketch, the guiding sketch, and I am trying to make sure that the rig is staying intact, that the character's joints are connected properly. So the sketch has brought me as far as it could. Now I have to kind of follow my own lead. You might notice that a posing stage takes a lot longer than an animation stage, and that is correct because if you take your time and pose everything well and make sure all the connections are working and that the poses can animate from one to another without elements flipping to different sides, it is going to shorten your animation time and it will let you focus on creating really nice animation rather than trying to fix up little mistakes that happen from poor posing. So don't give yourself grief if you notice that your posing takes long. That's totally normal. While posing, I also like to anticipate perspective changes. It definitely helps with creating secondary action or kind of overshooting on the character later on. And now that I have time, I will go in and make edits to the foot. So rather than copying one leg to another, I noticed that the way this character is rigged, it flips the leg for me. And in animation, this will cause problems because it will cause unnecessary flipping of the leg. I actually choose to pose it manually to ensure nice in between. Second pose usually goes a lot quicker because you already have the initial direction where your body is facing, posed from the first pose. It's always very important to flip between frames to compare. Now that I have time, I'll add a little bit of nice perspective on the hand. And it takes a while to work it out. Yeah, I was not happy with that one. That's starting to look pretty good. Just a little bit of perspective shift between the poses. So left to right action. It adds a little nuance. Cool, looks good. We're starting the animation stage. So now that we're confident and content with our two key poses, what we're going to have to do is space them out and create an actual timeline for the animation. And we're gonna make it 8 frames. At the moment, I'm going to get the frames close together and create passing poses or contact poses, because we already have passing poses. So to supplement the animation, we need the contact poses. I will achieve them by tweening between those two poses and then adjusting the keyframe that I got from the tween. In this contact pose, she's not quite going lower because in the pose previous to this one, she will hit her lowest point. But we already kind of add the perspective of her face because we are going to delay her face a little bit and her head. So I'm adding that already in preparation for the secondary. So this pose is straight from a keyframe straight from a tween, but we need to adjust it a little bit. And I like doing this I like fixing the legs by copying either the previous or the next frame, and I can be ensured then that it will animate really nicely. I'm also adding a little bit of up and down, but we will get into more detail of up and down. So now I'm spacing out the frames just to see how it looks like in motion. So now that I'm pretty happy with this, I will move forward to the next step and I will create more in-betweens. And we'll do it the same way we created breakdowns for the run. So we're just going to press tween and get the in-betweens from there. They will not be perfect. There will be stuff breaking, the timing will be quite even, but that's okay. We have the bare bones and now we can fix things around and manipulate them. This pose will be the lowest contact pose, the impact pose for the run. So we're going to have to make sure that Maeve is quite low to the ground in this pose, because we want the run to feel like it has a lot of weight on it. In this pose, the back leg is straight, and it's quite an important pose because it kind of determines the dynamic of the run. this pose launches her into the air. Right now we don't have the correct up and down yet, but we're less worried about that and more worried about just making sure the feet contact works and nothing is slipping on us. It seems like we got the legs working. Now we can focus on creating the correct distance and depth. So it's a 3/4 perspective run, so we need to make sure that there's some perspective in there too. So the closer she is to the camera, towards the front of the rug, we're going to enlarge her a little bit. And make sure that we can really feel that up and down. It takes a moment to fiddle around and make sure that everything is working fine. So just take your time with this. I'm just double checking in here that everything flows correctly, and whatever I feel like could use a better arc, I'm just correcting as I go. Sometimes I use the top of the camera view as a kind of a level to see where the character's head is at, especially when I'm doing walks or runs, just to make sure that the movement is working. It's important to show that shadow connects to a leg that touches the ground. But it's also nice to make it a little bit smaller when the character is completely off the ground. So I'm pretty happy with how this works. It is feeling a little bit robotic, but we will fix that in the next step. At the moment, I'm just making sure that all the arcs are working and that the secondary action on arms, that there's a delay on the head and on the arc. I'm working on the detail here and making sure that everything is working really nicely in this flow, especially secondary action on the hair. What's going to make this run feel like it has weight to it is definitely the secondary action on the upper body, on the head, on the arms, and on kind of like cloth animation. So hair, the sleeves, maybe the necklace. So in here, I'm adding perspective to the run, just making sure that the character is a little bit smaller when she's further away from the camera, and she's a little bit more enlarged when she's closer to the camera. I am, however, feeling that the character is feeling a little bit robotic, so I've decided to adjust the timing a little bit and add a little bit more hang time to when she's in the air, to kind of give the landing a little bit more punch. She's just in the air for 2 more frames, but it will read a little bit clearer. It will give the eye a little bit of a breathing space. Like, oh, she's in the air. You kind of notice that. It also adds a little bit more character. We can add a little bit of drag. Just making sure all the elements are in the right places, and adding a little bit of secondary action on the trouser. Making sure that every element is on the right side and it's not copying the animation. Okay, that looks pretty good. I'm quite happy with how the animation turned out. So now we're just going to add a color card and call it a day. Summary. So to achieve a pretty unique 3/4 perspective run, I would advise starting with creating character sketches and trying to bring the rig as close to the sketches as it's possible. This way we can ensure that the rig is not restricting the flow of the animation and that the character doesn't look stiff in the animation. So we're going to take the keys and tween them, and from there we will achieve in-betweens or the breakdowns with the contact poses. Of course, the contact poses will not be user ready. They're just kind of the first starting point for the convenience of creating a nicer looking contact pose. And you can see I have done that in the video, and this is just kind of to illustrate how it was achieved. You can compare before and after, and before and after of the other passing pose. So now that we have passing poses and contact poses, and we're pretty happy with them, we're going to do basically the same thing and tween them. And from that tween, we're going to get in-betweens. And obviously right now it's looking kind of floaty, so they will only really be our starting point. But because we've taken quite a long time posing and making sure that everything works quite smoothly and it will tween really nicely, we can now take a little bit less time trying to fix mistakes and focus on making it look appealing. So to compare, this is how the straight in between looks like, and this is how a fixed pose looks like. Same here. This is a straight in between and this is fixed. And same in here. Pose from in between and a fixed pose. So now that we have created appealing poses, we can move forward to making sure that the animation is working nicely in perspective. It's embellished with secondary action by adding this secondary action or overviews or drags frame by frame. I've also decided to adjust some timing and give the character a little bit more hang time in the air. So I've just created extra in-betweens. And that's how the final product looks like. So this is hair before the secondary was applied, and this is the hair after. Adds quite a nice feeling of the weight to the character. Same with the sleeve. And this is the final product. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Sorry it was quite a long video, but the run cycle is just about over 2 hours in real time. So I tried to shorten as much as I could without cutting anything out. The version of Toon Boom used was 17, but anything mentioned in this video can be applied to any version above, and the sentiment can be transferred to any other software. Thanks for watching and have a nice day.